Hi everyone and welcome to this week's Sunday recap with me, Rev Amy.
And Anna.
It's great that you're able to join us today as we recap Sunday's message that Nana brought to us. Today, not the interviewer but the interviewee, and it's time for me to get some on back for some of the tricky questions that I have been asked in previous editions of our Sunday recap. We are in week 4 of our Lent series, Wilderness Living. Nana, can you give us a bit of a recap in 3 minutes of your sermon on Sunday?
Yes, so on Sunday we spoke about the golden calf in the story of the children of Israel in Exodus 32. So they're still in the wilderness, and at this point they are waiting for Moses to come down from the mountain from his meeting with God. And whilst they're waiting, they get very impatient and decide to build this golden calf. And so we go through the story of how they idolize the golden calf and why they decide to do that. Also, we speak a little bit about maybe some of the things that we idolize in our lives, and how we wait when we're waiting on God, and also touched on a little bit about the story of the prodigal son, and also the different examples of how each of those characters in that story waited. I also spoke about why God makes us wait and how we can also wait well. So that's the summary.
Yeah, thanks, Nana. Throughout our Lent series, we've kind of said, really challenging teaching, really challenging story. Exodus 32 is just like the next chapter in disruptive people and complaining people just doing stupid things.
Basically.
Like that, basically, is the summary of,
Yeah.
Moses goes up the mountain. I think you shared, he's away for 40 days. He's just away to come back with commandments. And what happens while he's away is that Aaron, Moses' brother, it's another example of a leader who buckles under the pressure, and you spoke about that in your sermon. The people come with a complaint, and it's not really the people's idea. Like Scripture teaches that it's Moses that's kind of Aaron that's the one that's like, go get the stuff. Anyway, we could talk about the feelings of leaders all day long, but there is, there's something more of what's going on in the people's hearts that I think are really good to bring out. Now, I don't know about you, or you guys watching, but I have never felt the temptation to build a statue of a golden calf.
No.
For me, that is not my idol issue, but there are idol issues nowadays. So can you maybe just unpack a little bit for us a little bit around the people of Egypt the Israelites built a golden calf because it was a reminder of what they had seen the gods of Egypt look like. So what might be the things nowadays that we build idols of?
Yeah, sure. So, the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, they were very used to seeing the Egyptians have different types of God, made of gold, silver, stone, wood, and so they tried to essentially replicate that. And now, kind of bringing that into the modern day, we have a lot of things that are easy to idolize. So, for example, in this kind of day of go-getting, a lot of people can idolize their careers and put their careers on a pedestal as like the pinnacle of their lives. Some people also idolize relationships. Maybe perhaps they go back into certain relationships that are quite toxic, but it's comfort, they're comfortable, it's something familiar, and there's so many other things, like pursuit of money, loads of things, like even just binge watching things to maybe just escape, and so there are quite a few different ways that we can idolize things in our lives. We can even idolize sometimes the perfect family, or it can go many different ways. So
one of the things that's super interesting in the story in Exodus 32 is, Aaron says to the people, give me your gold, give me your jewellery, the things that you have taken from the Egyptians, bring them here, we're going to burn it down and we're going to make an idol. And you know, there's this real crazy bit, like this is what the people had been gifted as they'd left slavery. These were the gifts that God had blessed them with in that sense, and yet they take it off, they throw everything of value into the middle, they burn it down, it creates a totally meaningless, worthless cow. And in your sermon, you know, you asked a sequence of questions which were very challenging. Like I call them ouch moments. Like as I was watching the sermon back this morning, I was just like, oh, okay, that's a touchy question. But you went off in a sequence where you said, Nana, like, what's corrupting your peace? What's stopping your productivity? What's stopping you serve kingdom living? Or what's stopping your ability to love well? So I wonder if you can unpack a little bit for us. We're not trading in Egyptian gold today, but what might we trade in now over that which God has given us? Does that make sense?
So you know, it's you know, we don't have, I certainly don't have the skill to build a golden calf, but I know you know, some of the gifts and the talents that God has given me and God has given you, and so sometimes we can you know, things that are precious to us, like our time, we can trade that off in different areas instead of you know, using those resources like our time to spend with God, to get closer to Him in intimacy. You know, another resource is our money, and you know, it's very easy for us to shell out £20 here and £10 on a particular subscription, but you know, when it comes to maybe giving to other people or to other causes, maybe we pause and we're quite reluctant. And so what is it that what are the things that we've been given, what are the resources that we currently hold that, you know, maybe we trade in instead of you know, dedicating them to God or using them for a kingdom purpose. And so, you know, I spoke a little bit about you know, how in comparison to the children of Israel, we also can sometimes trade in things that are precious to us, you know, for things that don't give us life, you know, lifeless things, lifeless idols, if you will. So that's kind of a summary of
super helpful. I think sometimes, you know, we think, the mission of money and like giving onto the Lord, and I'm kind of aware, you know, I like nice trainers, like I like to buy particular brands. Do you know what I mean? And actually, I remember hearing some teaching a couple of years ago around some of you have got no money to put in the offering plate because you've given it all to Nike, you've given it all to Adidas. What idol is represented in what I wear. You know, I'm a big fan of Apple products. Like, but is there a danger that I am giving more and caring more about the brand of watch, phone that I wear rather than what I give onto the Lord? Sometimes we've just got to check our money spending, our attitudes. Tithing comes out first, and then if you've got it left, then we give to Adidas. Some of us have got the order back to front, and I know I used to have the order back to front, and that's why I can now say with confidence, I don't have it right all the time, but we've got to think first, what is the God of our hearts? Whose name do we care about most, more than the brands we wear or the items? Are you better, someone said to one of my colleagues a few years ago, are you better evangelist for Apple or for Jesus?
Oh, that's good.
And that cut me deep. And I guess I say that a bit here, like, whose name are you wearing? Whose glory are you living for? What do you talk about enthusiastically? Is it Jesus and what He's done for you, or is it a latest TV program, a brand that you like to wear? For me, that's one of those questions I find myself coming back to all the time.
What are our priorities?
What are the priorities? What are we idolising? Not a golden calf, but maybe certain brands or how we want people to see us. Nana, I love the bit in your sermon around, and I'm going to say this question, like, I think you preach really well, and you preach really well on Sunday. You weaved in really beautifully the gospel reading as well, and it could have been a tricky story to merge, but you merged, one of my favourite Bible stories is the prodigal son, but you used the example of the father and the son's about how they waited, and actually what that means for our attitude of waiting and how do we wait well, because in life there are many challenges we face.
Of course.
The Israelites had to wait 40 days for Moses to come back, and in that time they turned to a golden calf. Many of us, all of us, are hoping and longing for things and waiting for things. But can you just unpack a little bit from the way you did on Sunday of the gospel reading? Well, how do we wait well? What is the purpose in our waiting, and what did you bring out in your sermon?
Yeah, so the story of the prodigal son is a really interesting one, and we see, you know, the father and also the prodigal son and also his brother, his older brother, and they all wait differently. And so the story, you know, starts off with the prodigal son, you know, kind of really just being impatient and, you know, seemingly out of nowhere deciding that, you know, he wants his inheritance and he wants it now. And, you know, we read that the father does give him his inheritance early, and, you know, he essentially wastes his inheritance on reckless living. And so there's something in the weight of the prodigal son which teaches us about patience, and that sometimes, you know, we know that we're going to get something, but it's not the right time to get that thing, and so we see that the father, being a loving father, does give him his inheritance, but it's premature. And so there's a message about patience when we're waiting on God, when we're waiting on his promises to be fulfilled in our lives. And in contrast to the older brother, he is by the father's side. He's, you know, doing what he's supposed to be doing, and he's, you know, he's grumbling, he's murmuring, and he's like, you know, Dad, how come I've been here? I haven't done anything wrong. And, you know, little brother's got his inheritance and he's off doing what he wants. And, you know, the father turns around and says to him, you know, everything that I have is yours. And, you know, there's nothing that I'm withholding from you. And, you know, there's also something about not comparing our wait and our process of waiting to somebody else. And so, I spoke about that contrast, and also the father. That was something that stood out to me, in that the father was also waiting. You know, whilst the prodigal son went, you know, to a far off country and lived life the way that he wanted to live, the father was waiting patiently, was waiting expectantly, was waiting in hope that his son would come back, and you know, and truly his son did come back. And the posture of the father was one of, you know, just he was happy to see his son come back. And you know, I think that is what waiting well looks like, when we wait in expectancy, with patience and in hope. So
love that. What beautiful like tie-in. I love the line as well that you said around that bit about the expectation, hope, patience. But I thought the point you made earlier in the sermon about the Israelites, what had they traded in? Actually, the prodigal son, you brought that out beautifully as well, of the youngest son had asked for his inheritance, and what was it at the cost of? His relationship with his father. Because he took the money and he went. He wasted years that he could have spent with his loving father. And yet the trade-off was, I want my inheritance now, and I'm going.
So he traded his resources for in replacement of his relationship with his father. So
and that's, I guess, where we make the trade as well. Like, what is it we ask for now, and when we're given it severs our relationship with the father from our end. The father waits with hope and patience and expectation that we return. But actually, I just thought it was a beautiful illustration of that earlier point in the Israelites story. Hey, it was a great sermon. I loved watching it back this morning. If, like me, if you weren't at church on Sunday because you were elsewhere, why not watch the service back? Watch the sermon back. It's on YouTube. It's going up on Instagram. Watch it back. You won't waste your time. It'll encourage you, it'll challenge you the way that it did me this morning. Hope you've enjoyed this conversation. Do check back in on Sunday. We'll be back for our services at 10:30, or everyone is welcome to join. But check in, share this video with those who you feel will be encouraged by it. Next week, Nana will be back interviewing me with some difficult questions. So join in, join the conversation, be part of the journey we're on at St. Luke's as we continue to journey through the wilderness of Lent together, looking with hope, looking with patience, but also expectation that Jesus wants to reveal more of who he is to us. As a church, there is good news to hear, but then there is also good news to share. So come and be part of the story. Come and grow with us as we seek to love Jesus and to love one another, that the world might know the good news of the resurrection of Easter. So thanks for watching. Have a good rest of the day. Catch up with you again soon. God bless, guys. Bye now.